Hi, I'm Aeon in this video. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome back to more Geometry Dash. Today, it is AeonAir prediction time. I've made this prediction a couple times before. However, I have a feeling that there is something brewing within the Geometry Dash community right now. So, I have a genuine feeling that we are about to see another huge break in difficulty in Geometry Dash. Before you call me crazy, considering the fact that, well, Acheron is #1 still and hasn't been #1 for that long, hear me out. I'm going to present my evidence, talk to you guys about it, brief you guys on what I think and why I think it, essentially, and I want to hear you guys' thoughts. So if you do go to Pointer Crate real fast, the reason why I believe this is because we have a history of seeing the #1 get dethroned after a certain breaking point, and that certain breaking point, I genuinely do believe we have hit by now. I think the breaking point of Acheron has hit, and within the next half year, probably, we are going to see Acheron get dethroned and probably pushed down to around the same area as Slaughterhouse is right now. Why? Well, hear me out. We're gonna have to start off far, far, far into the past. Where the hell is it? It's so far down now. Bloodbath, there we go. In the case of Bloodbath, what essentially happened was that when it was #1 still, it stayed on top for a very long time. However, when this was pushed down to #2 and subsequently kept getting pushed down, it was after a set amount of people had completed the level. It took a long time before people started beating the level, but once it hit that 5-person mark, it started flooding in. After the first 5 to 10 people complete the #1 demon, it's almost as if the community is like, oh, that's not too bad. And then suddenly 1,000 new levels get verified that are harder than the current hardest. This is something that we see repeating throughout the entirety of the history of this game. The next very prominent part of this, how do I even put it, this trend is with Sonic Wave, Yatagarasu, and Erebus. They were top 1. They kind of like flip-flopped a lot, but they were top 1 for a very long time, up until I would say like 10-15 people had beaten them. The first few victors of Yatagarasu and Sonic Wave, they came decently fast, but not so fast to the point where it was kind of like unreasonable, right? But they still stayed on top for a very long time. Why did they stay on top for a very long time? Because they were hard. However, once 10-ish or so people have completed the level, as I said, it's almost as if the community just switches. Suddenly, it's very accessible. Everyone can do it. It doesn't feel intimidating to approach anymore. We head on over to the next big leap in difficulty, Bloodlust. Bloodlust was the exact same. I can just scroll down to it. I can just scroll down to it down here. Bloodlust was the exact same, essentially, where it was #1 for a very, very, very long time, and then as soon as like 10 or so people had beaten the level, it's almost as if the community's perception of the difficulty of the level itself is like, oh, that's reasonable, I can do this. And then it started getting pushed down, and pushed down fast it did. The next stop in that list of levels obviously would be Zodiac, and the exact same thing happens. A lot of people started beating Zodiac. It almost doesn't feel impossible anymore, and then there's a new giant break in difficulty where, oh, suddenly the level is just beaten by a ton of people and starts plummeting down the list. We saw it as well with Tartarus. After the first 5 or so victors of Tartarus, I would say after like the realm between Wolves to Doggy beat the level, that's when it kind of like just started falling. Mostly Minecraft and Switch, Rory, Sid, Technical, and Timo all beat the level, and then after those people, it started like kind of just like turning away. I think Wolves is the perfect breaking point for that, where he was like, I beat Tartarus at like 80%, and then he beat the level. It's almost as if the difficulty of the level just wasn't that incredible anymore. It took a little bit while longer before it actually ended up getting dethroned. That is exactly what happened. Now we're on to the exact same thing yet again with Slaughterhouse. Again, Slaughterhouse went almost unbeaten for a long time. It was a couple months, I think, before Zoink beat it after it was verified by Space. Obviously, now it says that it's verified by Doggy, and Doggy beat it like 2 months after it came out, but it took a long time. But then after a while, it just kind of like started steamrolling, and as you can see here, there's a bunch of people who've beaten it now, and it's down to #4. And I think, here's where my prediction comes in. I think we're about to see the exact same thing with Acheron now. Here's the reason why I genuinely do believe this. Now, before I move on with this, obviously I do think there is partially some reasoning behind technology development and what is and isn't allowed. Specifically for Bloodlust. Bloodlust was a product of its time. It was verified at 144 hertz, and it getting pushed down was the beginning of 240 hertz becoming the norm. By the time Zodiac was pushed down permanently from the #1 spot, 240 was just what everyone used. With Slaughterhouse, FPS bypass completely normalized. And now with Acheron, when I made this prediction last time, and Slaughterhouse is #1, and I predicted Slaughterhouse would within the next a while be pushed down into the top 5, 360 hertz was finally allowed and was put as the peak of all FPS. It was what they essentially made to be the upper limit of FPS for Jump to Dash. And now with Acheron being #1, there is no technological development in that same vein. We've kind of hit our wall when it comes to like the upper limit of what is allowed on the list and what is accepted within the community as a whole. Why am I so confident in this prediction that Acheron is going to see the same fate as Slaughterhouse, Zodiac, Tartarus, etc. without that development? This level had 4 victors up until a month ago. And then OneAlphaHelix beat it, and I think OneAlphaHelix was the catalyst for what is essentially going to turn into a bunch of people beating it. And now we're realizing this level is approachable. A lot of people are capable of beating it. Even people whose hardest isn't necessarily that hard, or just within the top 20, is capable of jumping to it. Endis, Tiago, and Ravis all beat this within 24 hours of each other. Endis beat it right, like literal minutes after Tiago got 4 to 100. Tiago beat it like 12 hours later, and right after that, Ravis beat it as well. 3 people out of the 8 beat it within a very short period of time. Xeroxy fluked it from 61. There is now a community-wide knowledge from the top-end players that this is an approachable level. And I think we're going to see the slaughterhouseification, essentially, of Acheron within the next few months. The level that's going to do it, it's probably either going to be Tidal Wave or Sweeping Demon 2. Realistically speaking, right? Realistically speaking, it's going to be Sweeping Demon 2 or Tidal Wave or some random level no one really heard of. Maybe Flame Wall. Who knows? But what I'm essentially saying is that now that we are starting to see so many Acheron victors in a very short amount of time, essentially, we are going to see Acheron within the next, I would say probably year, be pushed down to the 4 or 5 spot on the list. Because the community as a whole now, or at least the top player end of it, is realizing that Acheron is not the peak and people are going to start pushing. I could very well be wrong, because last time I did this prediction, as I said, it was because 360 FPS was allowed. But I think there are so many competent players now that I just feel like we're bound to see someone decide to truly push now. Thunder is already verifying Sweeping Demon 2. Zoink is doing Tidal Wave. I think, personally, we are bound to see Jump to Dash difficulty get pushed even further. Do I want to be wrong about it? Absolutely, because the further Acheron gets pushed down, the more unrealistic it is for anyone to ever beat the top 1 ever again. But it's exciting. I think this stuff is really exciting. I'm genuinely super excited to see difficulty truly get pushed to its absolute limit. I think it's very exciting. Tell me what you guys think. This is just a quick little, I have a tiny little prediction based on trends that we have seen over the course of many years now. Tell me what you guys think. I have a lot of faith in the current player base to just push the limits of this game as much as humanly possible. I'll see you guys around. Take care, everyone. Eat your green, stay healthy, stay hydrated. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I kind of want to do a lot more of these like discussion videos, like talking videos, just because I like it. My passion for this game comes from just liking the game. Talking about it is something that I truly enjoy. If you like them, tell me. Anyway, I'll see you guys around. Eat your green, stay healthy, stay hydrated. Thanks for making my day better. Hope my day was a little bit better too.